All right, welcome in. It's our first edition of Coug's Corner. It's brought to you by the Cougar Collective, your home base for all NIL opportunities, connecting student athletes, fans, business owners. You can join today, hashtag Mighty by Many, in supporting student athletes on and off the field. You can join the 1890 Club for as little as, how about this, $18.90 a month, which is basically just lunch now, one lunch a month. Just bypass that and go support the 1890 Club. You can also make a one-time donation. If you are a business, you can collaborate your brand with the Cougar Collective and the Old Crimson Legendary Lager, brewed by Pike Brewing. Sales benefit the Cougar Collective. More information, visit cougarcollective.org. Also, big thanks to Andy Largent, Flatstick Pub, Cougar owned and operated. They've got 6 amazing locations across the state of Washington: Kirkland, Pioneer Square, South Lake Union, Bellingham, Redmond. I know our first guest is probably taking the family to the one in Spokane. In fact, I think I saw pictures of this at Hoop Fest. They've got you covered for date night, guys night, ladies night, large group events. Great for kids, and of course, great place to watch the Cougs and watch them celebrate with the victory there at flatstickpub.com. And joining us for one of about 5 visits with us throughout the college football season, again, brought to you by the Cougar Collective and Flatstick Pub, Coug's Corner. It is the head coach of Washington State, Jake Dickert. Thank you for doing it.
Yeah.
I know you got a lot on your plate. And I appreciate it because you guys burn it, man. The midnight oil. You guys work nonstop. So the fact that you've carved out some minutes for us 5 times during the season, I told this to you when we met a few weeks ago that I really appreciate it. It means a lot. So thank you for doing it.
I'll tell you what, Puck. There's nothing like carving out some time to talk a little Cougar football. What a moment, what a time, what a spotlight. I appreciate your voice of what it means to all Cougs, and to do this kind of on a regular basis with myself, our players, our coaches, I think is big for our fans and obviously big for the collective, right?
Well,
because that's part of the reason we're here, to spread the word, to understand how our boosters, our fans, and everyone can get involved with our football team like never before. So just excited about our time together here.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about the collective. We're gonna talk about the upcoming season, the wild world of college football, which has just changed dramatically here in the last 12 months. I want to first start. First of all, because I kind of teased it right in the beginning. Hoop Fest, was that the first time doing Hoop Fest? I saw you guys. You took your boys up there this summer. How'd that go?
Yeah, it was the first time in Spokane doing Hoop Fest. Back in the day when I was my kid's age in Wisconsin, they called it the Gus Macker, right?
Ooh.
So I've seen something like that, but never to this scale. To take the boys down there and play in the under 10 and the under 8 divisions and just have that much fun and, just kind of see the whole city of Spokane come out and come to life. I mean, it was a really cool event for our region. And I said, I get to play dad in those moments. I'm not coach. I like to watch. My wife does plenty of the coaching, trust me. So I get to enjoy. They get to play 3 sports while they're out here in Pullman. So it was a huge event and fun for our family.
Let me ask you, because you've been coaching your whole life, right? How is it watching your kids?
It's a unique experience. If I'm being really honest with you, Puck, it's one of those things where you just put yourself in dad mode, and then as soon as something happens that you want to coach, it's like, whoop, give me the whistle. Here it comes. I'm always, my wife's really adamant about just making sure we're finding the positive things. I remember growing up, my dad was a coach. You sit around the dinner table and there's a laundry list of things that you can do better. I like to find all the things that they do really, really well and just make sure they're enjoying the experience. Because youth coaches ask me all the time, like, Coach, what's the number one piece of advice for myself as a youth coach? I say it's one thing: keep the kids playing. It's never your job as a youth sports coach to decide who's going to be the best player. Some of the best guys I've ever coached, Esapole, our starting left tackle, just started playing, football 2 years ago. So you never know when they're going to reach that ceiling, find that passion and that love. So keep them playing, enjoy the game, and that's what I try to keep in mind, even though every once in a while coach comes out.
You know, it's weird. I've coached both my kids in a bunch of. I mean, I've coached a bunch of youth sports. My daughter, when she played basketball, she's 15 now. Coached her throughout, basketball. My son in basketball, and I've coached my son from t-ball. Now he's all the way. He's 11 now, and it's weird because it's like, I don't think my daughter's an elite gymnast now, and I think I always tell people like one of the scariest things is to watch your kid do the balance beam. There's nothing more terrifying than that 1 minute on the balance beam, because it's just the size of the balance beam, I don't know, is like 4 inches across. They're doing all these flips and you're like, oh my God, they're gonna fall, they're gonna crack their head. You being a baseball guy, I know you love baseball. I don't think, especially as my son has gotten older here in the last few years where they've really been pitching, I don't think there's any more terrifying than watching your son pitch, because he's the only one out there. And if it's softball, your daughter, and it's all eyes on them. And then I'm balancing dad and then coach.
I got one different for you, Puck. My daughter loves theater, loves singing.
Oh.
Okay. So in 7th grade, she sang the national anthem for the middle school boys basketball game without fear, without hesitation. Me and her mom were in the stands, and it was just like, I was so nervous, and I've never been more proud than in that moment, just to be like, I would never have been able to do that, to stand in front of the crowd. And thank God she's got her mother's voice, because otherwise it'd be a hard conversation. But those moments are just great. When they succeed, there's nothing like it. I get a little bit of that taste because I get to coach and watch our guys go, be successful. And that's, part of my biggest passion now is to watch these guys succeed. But when it's your kid, something about it just hits different. But I tell them, Puck, I said, guys, we're going to have to out-effort everybody, because dad's DNA isn't going to take us very far. like we're going to need to play harder than everybody else. So it's one of those things. They don't quite understand yet, but they will.
How was, you mentioned that your dad, I want to kind of get in your background real quick. You mentioned your dad was your coach primarily when you were growing up in all your youth sports.
Mm-hmm.
How was that like? Because I found this video years ago from Padraig Harrington. Do you know who that is? Golfer.
Yep.
And he was in this video. He was talking about teaching your kids to play golf, or wanting them to play golf. And one thing, he's like, I'll give you one piece of advice. And I'm not going to do his accent, but he's like, one piece of advice. You play as long as they want to play.
Yeah.
And he was, the second they say, you know what, I'm kind of tired, I want to be done. You're like, okay, be done. Let's just move on. Let's not, I don't want to push it on you anymore. And his point was, let's leave them with a good feeling or a good thought about the sport. And then he goes, what we did every time with my son when I was done playing golf. It's funny because I do it now with my kids in baseball, but he's like, let's go get ice cream and just talk. He goes, win or lose, they'll just always remember, well, I had that ice cream with dad and we just hung out and talked, and it was, whether we won or lost, it was always kind of somewhat of a good memory. I'm curious. And I have to guard myself against this. Like after the game, let's say after a loss, not to coach, don't be coached and be like, hey, why did you do this wrong? What happened here? And I've made the mistake, of course, like every probably parent coach has made the mistake. And I just try to shut up and just be dad and don't say anything. What was that like growing up with your dad? Was that kind of was that a balancing act?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. You ever see those progressive commercials like you're turning into your parents? Like,
yeah, they're the
every
best.
week I find that out about myself a little bit more. My dad, was very much, we had the two boys, and he was unique because he was our school principal and then eventually our school superintendent. So he had one thing that was very important, Puck, and it was the keys to the gym.
Yeah.
So that was a big deal, so we got to go up there and practice and enjoy those moments and the hitting cages and basketball. And he coached us in youth football, but it was very much, people have a notion, oh, your dad's the coach, he's going to take it easy on you. If you knew my dad's background, it's just the opposite. If I could tell you how many times I heard, Dickert, you're dogging it, from the box, or, hey, we need you to step up here. So there was a lot of tough love involved with it, but there was love. And I think that's the biggest part of why I enjoyed, my experience, because it's small town where there wasn't all this specialization either, Puck. Like, we went from football to basketball to baseball, and it was sport to sport to sport, and just loved it. Loved every second of playing it. And I got lucky because my brother's 2 years older. So growing up, I played with his teams, and it was just one of those things. You got to be tough, right, to go up a couple of years. And at the dinner table, I'm sure there was some tears every once in a while because we lost. But other than that, it was just a great experience, and we had tons of fun.
Did he? At the time, were you like, God, I wish Dad wasn't coaching me. I wish somebody else was coaching me, and you're just Dad, or like, could you see it at the time, or were you just too young, too into it to now looking back, you go, you know what, that was such a great experience because of the lessons I learned from him.
Oh, definitely looking back, it was a great experience, and stories we still tell today about Pop Warner championships and. That we get with our buddies and, my dad getting after me at halftime because I didn't score in the first half, or calling my buddy out because he didn't hit his patented corner jumper, or, just a lot of different things. My dad still plays to this day, 65 and older wood bat league national baseball tournaments, right? So I was the bat boys, and talk about a free lesson growing up, be a bat boy for one of those traveling, kind of local teams there. So, yeah. It was good, and sports kind of just, not engulfed our lives. It was a big part of everything that we did, from my brother, myself, my sister, my mom, got a chance to play Division III football where actually with my brother, and my family's got a chance to be there and see it all. So it was just a really special, unique experience for us. I really mean that. And my dad taught me this one big thing. Everything you want in life is on the other side of hard work, period. And I think that's one of the biggest things I've carried with me throughout my journey, and it's kind of led me into why I love coaching.
How many fights with the older brother?
We had to share a room our whole life, right? So not just from that. You're talking about every day. My mom was kind of the battle keeper, right? So she had to keep the line in between us. But I wouldn't be where I was without that, and with seeing him go through that. He was also sometimes a big knucklehead, right? So I knew, well, I'm not going to do that. That gets me in trouble. So he plays the easy path for me because he took the hard path.
I would assume he was the carrot, though, you were chasing.
Yeah, absolutely. Just to see him do it, it was really cool because we got to play football. He was the center, and I was the quarterback in high school, right? So my mom would be like, Jake, I know what you're doing. Dad's yelling at Jesse, but I have no idea what he's doing. I can't even understand that, right? So it was cool to be on the same teams, and then it kind of went full circle in college. He ended up going to the same college I did, and he played line, and I was a wide receiver. So cool moments and great experiences, and owe a lot to him.
What kind of baseball player were you?
That was my dad's love, right? He's in the movie Major League. I don't know if you know this.
No, really?
It was filmed in County Stadium in Milwaukee. He was a teacher at the time. So when Serrano hits the big home run, he's one of the first people to jump on him when he crosses home plate. So my brother really had that love of baseball, and that was their big thing. I did it, but never at the level that I played through high school, but those two still play today. My dad's 65 and older, my brother in 40 and older. So that's their passion. I love watching it. Yeah, I really do. Live baseball is awesome. But at the end of the day, I've kind of gravitated towards this football thing.
Is it, was football always your first love?
Basketball was really. Basketball growing up, and then probably about the time high school came, I just kind of gravitated towards the football part, the quarterbacking, went to a bunch of camps, really enjoyed, got to see in the big picture of the game. Yeah. And I think that's why I knew I was going to make it in this coaching thing, because you just, even from a young age, like it pulled me in, and I got to see a bunch of different coaches do it a bunch of different ways. I played offense in college and ended up coaching defense. Ended up figuring out that it really fits my personality, a little aggressive, a little tough, a little edgy, and just ended up falling in love with it. And I always say, I can never go back to coaching offense because they're just a bunch of cheaters.
When was the moment you knew that you wanted to coach?
Well, like I said, my dad was kind of high school coach, teacher. My grandpa did a lot of that too, and they were in education for 40 years. So I was going to be a math teacher and a coach. And I got a job right out of college. And I was working that summer before I went to that job, and my dad said, one of my biggest regrets is not trying college coaching.
Mm.
And I called my coach up the next day. All of a sudden, they had a GA opening. I quit the job. I went and started this football career, not knowing where it was going to lead. I had one goal. If I could ever coach scholarship football, man, if I could coach Division II ball, I've made it big time. And as I kind of kept going up the ladder, it's been an amazing journey. But as soon as I got done with that first year, I was like, this is for me. This is what I want to make out of my life, and just kept chasing it.
What do you make of all the changes in the last year in college football?
Well, I think they're really changing the landscape of the game, and I think I've always said this, I really believe this, the best game in the world. I think our game, college football, is very different than the NFL.
Yeah.
I think the NFL is slow, right? The huddle, the pacing, just different things. It's like, come on, guys, let's get this playoff, right? So I think now with the college football playoff, it's been much needed. I think that is a tremendous deal. I think anytime you have inaction for that long of time and not involving the players in compensation, you create your own problems.
Yeah.
Right. Your choices in life create your own issues. And I think that's what we've created a little bit. So to just Katie bar the door open and change everything so fast, really without a ton of applicable regulation, that's kind of the world we're living in right now. I'm not even going to get into the Pac-12 stuff or that, but I think we still have the greatest game. And I think all of us now that are in it have an obligation to preserve it and find what is best for the future, because it's not done changing. It seems to be changing every week or so, or every month. So we just need to make sure that we're doing it for the right reasons to preserve this game.
When you look at like the current landscape of college sports and the NIL and the role of name, image, and likeness, the rewards of it, of the NIL, because there are rewards of it. But they're also, with anything that's new, there's going to be a set of new challenges. So what are those challenges, but also what are the rewards of the NIL?
Well, I think the concept of it at first, like letting players make money on who they are, signing autographs, businesses wanting to work with these kids, right. Like that base concept was long overdue. Obviously, it turned into pay for play. It turned into boosters now being legal and the collectives and all those type of things. But we have to find a way to compensate, through obviously the NCAA, and find a way to turn it back into real, NIL. But until then, it's a game changer, right? You can see the investment that teams are making. We're going to play Texas Tech, for example, that has multiple millions of dollars in their football NIL, and that's pretty well reported out there, right? So it's hard to tell who are the best developers, who is investing in the right people and how you do that. So for us here at Washington State, it's really turned into Moneyball, and it's taken a little while for our, fan base and our boosters to kind of activate. But the Cougar Collective has done an amazing job of getting us pretty close to competitive. And as we continue to grow, our target has always been trying to find a way to get $1 million rolling within our football team. And I think when you spread that out over 120 guys, or you look at, the landscape of college football, I think that can be very competitive for us here at Washington State. And we're getting closer to that mark, and excited about and very thankful for everyone that has been involved.
You've brought up Moneyball a couple of times. Did you do any research on that? Did you read the book? Did you kind of just see what that was about and just kind of that philosophy of how that, Billy Beane and the A's did all that?
Yeah, I'm not a reader. I'm a math guy, so I watched the movie.
The movie covered it. You're good.
The movie's great. But
it is a good movie.
Our general manager, Rob Schlager, is one of the smartest and most detailed human beings I've ever been around. But it just has changed. Coach Gundy put it out the other day about, it's not time to negotiate with agents, right? But at the end of the day, it seems to be in the world we've created.
Oh.
If you're not negotiating, someone else is.
Yeah.
Right. So to find the value, go into the portal and find guys like Tyson Durant that Cougs will be very familiar with, Cyrus Webster, that are just have amazing traits and are going to be great players in their own individual way. But not a lot of people wanted that. right?
Mm-hmm.
So we got to do it a different way. We got to find guys that are rising, and we got to find ways to keep our guys through the developmental process, and eventually there will be a plan. Like we had a plan for Kent. He couldn't stay. He had to go to the NFL or he had to go make $2 million. And we'll plan for that and develop our personnel accordingly.
Is that the rate for a quarterback now?
Well, here's what I would say I learned. When we were out in the portal quarterbacks and the veterans, they want two things, right? They want promise of playing time, and you really can't talk to one for under 250,000, right? So we had neither, and that was fine. So we found the right guy for us, and we were very confident in John, and we're never willing to just say, hey, you're going to be the guy, right? So, like I said, that developmental pieces and projecting, what could happen in a lot of different positions, and you just got to know, like the Oakland A's, they were going to lose Jason Giambi, right? They knew that, they planned for it. So we do some of those things in the background and try to build the best team, but making sure our team is taken care of and they feel appreciated here at Washington State, and that their goals and dreams are still being taken care of.
Have you met Scott Hatterberg, by the way?
I have not. I would love to.
You got to. He goes to the games.
Really?
Yeah, he has like a. In fact, I have a mutual friend that's friends with him, and I ended up in his he's got like what do you put on the back of your pickup trucks? The like a camper
cab,
like a camper cab on the back of it. And I walk in, I'm like, oh my God, that's Scott Hatterberg. And I fought everything just to be like, can we just talk about Moneyball for like 2 hours? But yeah, great Coug. God, great baseball player, and well played there by Chris Pratt in the movie Moneyball. How much has it changed? Now, this is my sense of it. You tell me if I'm wrong and just correct me. It seemed like you guys decided as this NIL is taken off in the transfer portal that we were going to maybe reinvest a little bit more in just trying to find high school kids and recruit them and get them on campus, get them into the culture, build them up, and hopefully we can retain them. We know we're going to lose some, but hopefully we can retain them. Did you have more of an emphasis on trying to hit the high school recruiting where other programs, seems like they're kind of pushing away from that a little bit and just concentrating a little bit more on the portal?
Yeah, I think, Puck, that'll always be the foundation of Washington State football. I think if you try to be something you're not, you quickly and easily fail, right? So to find the two-star that has length and size but is still only 240, like Abe Lucas was, right? Or, the underlooked at running back like Max Borghi. I mean, those type of guys are all over this country, and you just got to be willing to turn over every rock and make sure you're investing in those guys. And I think what the portal has done and the NIL has made us double down on our region. The Washington kids want to play for Washington State, want to stay at Washington State, want to have their families see them play. So we've invested heavily in the Pacific Northwest, and, young kids all over this country, I think once they see who we are and what we're about, I think they see how we develop players. We had one of our best NFL drafts last season with homegrown guys, and 8 of those guys got NFL opportunities, and that's a big deal for us.
Can you sense that wherever this partnership goes, maybe with the Mountain West, do you sense that to be a positive? Because if you can sell it to mom and dad, hey, you come to Washington State, not only can you come to Pullman, but you'll be able to go to Fresno, to Boise, to some of these schools in the Mountain West that is not going to the Midwest, or, if you're Cal and Stanford, you're going all the way to the East Coast. Can you see that as a benefit, as a selling point?
Yeah, I mean, I think right now it's hard to sell. Right now it's a partnership for 1 year.
Yeah.
Right. But I think at the end of the day, I still believe in regional football. I still believe in those rivalries and what that means, and families seeing you play, because traveling all over the country, that stuff's not easy. Yeah. Right. And I know that's the number one thing, our players use their NIL for. If you talk to them individually, to have their families come out and see them play is a big deal, right? So I sell it, but more importantly, we sell Pullman, right? When I look out this window out of my office, it's either for you or it's not. And we've had tremendous responses from families that say limited distractions, great education, great football and men and mentors that I want my son to be around. So it's one of those things where we're selling every phase of our program, and it can't just be me selling it. It's got to be the fans, the faculty, the hotel owners, the restaurants, I mean, the student body at large. I mean, guys like you on your show, I mean, it's very important that they feel, Washington State is a big-time football program.
I do a roundtable, Cougar football, the Old Crimson Cougars podcast with Jim Moore, former radio partner, and then Paul Sorensen, who was an All-American safety at Washington State. And I know Paul was over there a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago, and you brought a bunch of old players and alums in to talk to the current players. And I asked him this the other day. I said, because one thing that we're amazed about is that you didn't really lose anybody in the portal.
Mm-hmm.
And then you didn't lose any coaches. And I thought for sure, I remember saying this to Jim when we were back on the radio. I thought when the season was over, it was that you were going to lose every coach because of the uncertainty of everything. And they've got families and, they need a certain future, they need some stability in their life. And coaching is hard, right? Guys get fired all the time. But you didn't lose anybody. You have people that moved on, you brought additions in, but Paul gave me the answer about this culture you've developed, but I want you to explore that a little bit further. How were you able to keep these players at home and these coaches and retain all of them?
Yeah, it is a long, unique answer. I do think it is. And culture is kind of that buzzword that everyone talks about.
Yeah.
Everyone puts a whole bunch of posters up in their building and they think it's culture. It's not, right? Culture is how we think, act, and respond. It is. And it's about understanding that our connectedness as a team is what takes us to our peak. Talent sets the floor, connectedness sets the ceiling, right? So the more your team is bonded together, the more they enjoy being around each other, the more they're willing to have hard conversations and call out guys that aren't meeting the standard, the more powerful it is within that locker room. It really is. And we like to have fun. Right. I think Paul, he got to saw us play a little family feud before the meetings, or, every time we have a team meeting, we put slides up and, we put match guys up and ask them, if you could go anywhere in the world, where would you go? Right. Just to create guys talking and interacting. We call it colliding with your teammates. So nothing in a great culture happens by accident, so we do a lot of different things to try to do that, have fun. I think one of the biggest things that draws us together is compete. We had Mike Price there when we honored the Rose Bowl team on a Friday night meeting, and he got to see us playing a team game and was like, this energy is unbelievable, right? So just finding ways that they really buy in to your coaches, your staff, but more importantly to each other, because the whole premise of culture is to drive behaviors that win. And I think we got an established one now in year 3. We've recruited 98% of these kids on our roster. They know what we expect. And I think that's going to lead the results, because that consistency piece that you talked about from coaches to players, I think is vitally important. And we need to see that on the field this year.
You have dealt a lot in your tenure. Every year there's been something. You took over because of the dismissal of Rolovich. So you take over there. Then it's then you're dealing with COVID. And then you deal with the dismantling of the conference and the portal, the NIL. Do you ever just say, can we just have a normal year where it's just football?
Yeah, I was talking, my greatest mentor is Craig Bull, and he retired last year. And I said, Coach, man, your prime was the heyday. Like what I've dealt with in the last 5 years has been a whole different deal. Someday I'll write a book about it and just kind of the inside of Washington State football. But it's taught me a lot, Puck. It really has. I think as coaches, we talk about, having maturity and dealing with adversity and having your character and integrity show every day. I've been on a platform that nothing has gone our way. Nothing has just been handed to us. Nothing has just been easy, for the Cougs. So, Coach, it's time for you to show what you talk about every day. That's the way I take it. And we'll find our way. I said it at media day. We're not licking our wounds, we're licking our chops. Like we got to be poised and prepared for the next chapter of Washington State football. And it won't be easy. There'll be another twist and turn that we got to navigate. But nothing happens, Puck, without great investment. Nothing, right? And that's the biggest thing that I'll continue to communicate to our people. Like this is Washington State University football, right? It's not just Washington State athletics. The university has to be completely behind us, our mission, and the resources we need to be successful. We can't just ask our fans and our donors and our boosters for everything. It's got to be hand in hand. And as we continue to navigate this, that's a big message that we need to get out there, that it takes all of us. And the university is included in that. And I'm excited for what we can do. But when you look at comparing for where we want to go and how we need to get there, there's a gap that we need to fill, and it's going to take every one of us to get there.
You turn the page now into a new season, and that new season now brings a new look behind center. John Mateers, your starting quarterback. It was an off season that was a competition with Zevi, and it went down right up until the season started as you guys get prepared to take on Portland State coming up on August 31st. What led you ultimately to the decision to go with John this year as your starting quarterback?
I think the biggest thing is it's one of those things where it isn't one little thing. It isn't looking at the stats. It's all about who gives you the best chance to win, and John's ready for this moment. This is his third year in our program, third year in a similar type system. He has that X factor. And I think great quarterbacks know how to play off script. He can run. He's got a big arm. I think he can process the game at a really high level. And he's going to do some really, really special things. Every time John's out there, he's just going to get exponentially better. And I think that's the biggest thing that we came back to, is that we're going to go out with the guy that gives us the best chance to win. He's proven that over the last 8 months. It was a heck of a competition. And I slept easy at night knowing not many coaches feel like they got two really good options, right? So when we made the decision to go with John, he responded the way I thought he would, and he's prepared for this moment. That does not mean there won't be ups and downs. That doesn't mean there won't be scrutiny, but he's going to have tons of success here at Washington State. He's bought into being a Coug, and he's the right guy at the right time to lead us into the future.
You hear that. You mentioned you hear a lot of programs talk about culture. You always hear that X factor. What is for you? When you say that, what does that mean, especially for a quarterback?
Well, I think when you look from a defensive lens, you can game plan a lot of things. Right? 3-by-1, we're going to call this. Hey, when they're an empty here, when that quarterback does things that you weren't anticipating, there's no game plan for that. There's no way that you can just go out there and say, hey, we're going to try to contain this, because he can beat you with the arm. He's not just a runner. You can design things if you're going to play one high to get him +1 in the run game. He's extremely physical and strong. But he has to play the way he has to play. And I used to say that with Cam, when everyone go a little bit crazy about all the running around stuff. That's how he plays. At quarterback, I grew up on Brett Favre, Puck. So there was
you know what it's like.
Plenty of times when he would just lose the ball and you're just like, man, you have to throw some to get some. That's what Brett Favre would say. So John's got to play to John's strengths. And that is running, that is taking off, that is making big throws down the field. But I've just been really impressed. The X factor is the leadership. He's going to command the team. He's going to go out there and give everything he has to it. And he's going to bring some toughness to that position, which I think is always needed.
I know it's a team game, and you never want to isolate one player. And you do these interviews and these press conferences, and people ask you probably all the time. If you had $1 for every time you were asked this question, you'd be a millionaire. Like, who stood out to you during camp, or can you talk about this? I always love that one. I had heard the buzz of one particular player before I came out there and watched the first scrimmage, and it was the kid by the name of Wayshawn Parker, and I not heard him, never seen him, just had read about him. And you get out there and you watch him carry the ball or just get on the field. And my best thing I've just told people is he's just different. It's a different looking running back than I have ever seen at Washington State. 6 feet, 200 plus pounds. He doesn't look like a freshman. Does he play like one? Does he act like one? And what's kind of the potential of Wayshawn Parker this season for you guys?
I call it, not specifically with Wayshawn, but I call that the Josh Allen effect. When I was at Wyoming, I saw Josh Allen throw one ball, and it was just like, that's different. And I think Wayshawn being a mid-year enrollee and having him for the spring, having that time to mature a little bit and train with us has led to all this success. When he carries the ball, there was a time I showed the offensive staff during our scrimmage. It was like, not a lot of people can do this. And he made this cut as he was getting face masked, avoiding a defender coming outside in. He can catch the ball and take it to the house like he did in the spring game. It's a unique blend of talents. And I talk with them often. I just say, wait, Sean, keep the main thing, right? When you keep football first, this is going to be an easy journey because you've been blessed with a lot of talent. And, we got him out of Grant High School, same thing. Not a lot of offers. He had transferred his senior year, and they do a great job of getting him where he needs to be academically. He goes out and rushes for 2,000 yards, and he ends up at Washington State. And he's going to have a big-time football career here. And, I like to temper expectations a little bit, but we're wildly excited about what he can do.
What else are you excited about leading up to this season?
I think just the competitiveness of our team. I said this before. I feel like we're a team of nobodies. And I think that's a really cool and special thing. The big names are gone. Those guys are playing on NFL rosters. This has been the most competitive this football team has been since I've been here. And that's exciting for us as coaches because I think competition brings out the best in everybody. There's not a day that a single one of our guys can take off because they know the man behind them is ready to take their job. But at the end of the day, what I love about this time of year, we get to do a mock scrimmage on Saturday and we finally get to wear the same colors. Right? We've been offense, defense. We've been grinding. You get your camp fights. But now we finally get to wear the crimson and gray and the same color on the sideline. And just excited for that to, come to fruition at Portland State. So our guys are ready. You get to this point, you practice so much football sometimes, you're just ready to play. And we're ready for this tilt and see where we stand. And we got to see our flaws and get better as the season keeps progressing. We can't stay as the same team.
Last thing for you, when you guys played it in the Pac-12, and this has kind of always been the case for Washington State, it was always perceived to be the underdog in that conference. And now you're not a part of the Mountain West, but you're playing a Mountain West schedule. How do you warn your team because those, some of those kids at Washington State when you were in the Pac-10, or Pac-12, when they're from California, they grew up being Bruins fans, or they were Trojan fans, and they wanted to play at USC, or they wanted to play at Washington, or wherever, if they were from the state. Now you're going to be playing teams, Fresno and Boise. These are good football teams who wanted to play in the Pac-12 and probably were turned down by some of these programs. How do you guard your kids against, hey, we cannot overlook these teams. If we overlook this Mountain West teams, they'll punch us in the mouth because they're good football teams. Jake, you know it. You're part of it. You know what it's like.
Well, I think it's one of those things is perception becomes your reality. And the perception on the outside is going to be, it's going to be easy. You just walk in there and win. They're Mountain West.
Yeah.
Reality is it doesn't happen like that. But when you have 18 to 23-year-olds, you got to control the noise. So it's always about us, our preparation, our mindset, our execution on game day. And these 12 opportunities deserve our best. And picking and choosing when you want to go hard or what your perceived opponent's talent level is, I just talk about it. That's front runner BS right there now, Puck. Right? So if we want to be tough, we want to be physical, we want to be the team that doesn't matter who's there playing and has to go out there and earn every victory like we all know you have to do. It takes right mentally to go out there and do it. So we're focused on us, our standards, our play, our execution. To us, it's 12 opportunities to go show who we are as a football team. And I don't care who I told you this the other day, playing down in Boise is going to be a lot tougher an environment than playing at Stanford. Playing at Fresno is going to be a lot tougher environment than playing at Arizona State. Right? So our guys are going to walk into some big time environments and we got to go in there with a target on our back and go get it done.
Okay, you've been gracious with your time. We'll do this throughout the football season. Our next visit will be the week of the Apple Cup, which is odd. It's going to be in September, September 14th. I'm sure we'll have a few things to talk about as we lead up to that game. But before that, you got Portland State, Texas Tech to start the season. Real quick on the Tech one, they're honoring Mike Leach. You guys got something planned for that, I would assume?
Yeah, they're putting Mike Leach in the Hall of Fame. What an opportunity. Right. I personally believe, Coach Leach is a statue guy along with Coach Price. We should have statues of these guys around the stadium.
Agreed.
And just an honor to get him and his family back here. What a coincidence. The Texas, it's a perfect storm. Yeah. And, we didn't even know that game was even happening until about 9 months ago. So everything happens for a reason, and to put Coach in the Hall of Fame, I should put up like a pirate statue like he used to have in the office over here just as a memory. But at the end of the day, what an opportunity for our fans and our place to see a big-time football environment.
Why don't you honor him during that week of the press conference? Have your coffee up at the podium and just cough every time. Like when you're answering questions, from Jamie Vennick and Greg Woods and those guys, and just start coughing all over the place. And
yeah, I gotta get my impersonation down. I don't know if I can do it as well as Coach ever did it, but
it's
it was definitely unique. And what I appreciate about Coach is he taught us to believe again. He really did. When he came here in 2014, we were down and out and went through a couple tough years before he made Cougs believe and show us what we're capable of doing. So it was really cool to see.
All right, it's Cougs Corner, our first of 5 visits here with Jake Dickert, all brought to you by the Cougar Collective, your home base for NIL opportunities, connecting student, athletes, fans, and business owners. You can join the 1890 Club for as little as just $18.90, the most accessible route to supporting the Cougar NIL growth, as Jake just talked about. I mean, the future of college athletics and where you want to be. If you want to be a part of it, this is a way to be a part of supporting these student athletes. You can also make a one-time donation, the Old Crimson legendary lager as well. But go visit cougarcollective.org and Flatstick Pub, Cougar owned and operated. And he was a one-time, like you, wide receiver for the Cougs. He's got locations across the state, Kirkland, Pioneer Square, South Lake Union, Bellingham, Redmond, and Spokane. You can visit their website at flatstickpub.com. Jake, we appreciate the time. Good luck this season. Go get them. And as always, go Cougs.
Look forward to doing it again, Puck. Go Cougs.